Welcome back. It's that time again where we highlight the cool and interesting games that are releasing this month. There's a lot here. We've got some pretty anticipated remakes, a few potential dark horses that might be amazing niche games, and of course, the little-known Call of Duty, which obviously is the behemoth that overshadows 1 month of the year every single year. So let's just get it out of the way. Modern Warfare 3 launches November 10th, and there's a lot of preamble to that. There's campaign early access for pre-order starting November 2nd, because yes, that trend truly is catching on everywhere, and you'll have to wait until December for the live service Warzone updates. But this is the month where we get to see what the combined studios of Activision bring to the table when they basically throw everything, including the kitchen sink, into development. This basically is a game that is trying to bring everything to the table. We've got Sledgehammer as the lead studio, but Treyarch, Raven, and Infinity Ward are of course all contributing in their own way. This time around, the campaign mission design is being built around the Verdansk map, which is kind of interesting because it means we'll be getting a sort of semi-open world design, at least with some of the missions as we go and try to take down Makarov. In fairness, some of the more open missions of recent CoDs have actually been pretty good. It's also the first Modern Warfare game with zombies, so it'll benefit from having all of that to unleash on an open world Warzone map as well. As far as multiplayer goes, it's kind of interesting. They're stripping back a bunch of things that people didn't like from last year's entry, and then they're bringing the original Modern Warfare 2 maps back, which I think is going to go down quite a treat because that really is a good set of maps. Okay, so Call of Duty is obviously eating up all of the marketing and all of the press time, which means it's only fair we highlight the others who are going to be launching this month, because there are some real potential gems, and it would be a shame if they just got obscured by the biggest release and all the countless guide and loadout articles that no doubt will basically cover all the websites this month. Okay, first up, and one for the older here, Alien Hominid is back. Yes, the 2D side-scrolling shooter from the days of Newgrounds is getting 2 separate releases. On the first from developer The Behemoth. And Alien Hominid HD is finally reaching modern consoles and PC, which means a whole new audience will get to experience the cult game where a single alien takes down entire agencies of suit-wearing goons, alongside alien bosses with the same 2002 level of difficulty and indie charm, just slightly prettier. But then, if you want something more modern, Alien Hominid Invasion is actually launching on the same day. This is an arcade-style run-and-gun roguelite with customizable characters for up to 4-player co-op, which is actually local or online, and a whole bunch of customization for how you play. Essentially, the same charm as the original, but with a more full experience of play. That's the pitch. On the second then, from Pathia Games, we've got My Time at Sandrock, which is the follow-up to My Time at Portia, which was super successful. I think it was like 2.3 million sales in 4 years. Kind of crazy. Anyway, it leaves early access and it is moving its simulator RPG fantasy from lovely farmlands to an industrial desert ranch. It's got mining, combat, and production line building to match. Yes, production line building, that usually gets me interested. To move on though to something that is very much not about happiness and all of that, we've got RoboCop Rogue City. It is coming out on the 2nd, and it's an odd one from Teon, who are the makers of the cult hit Terminator Resistance, where, I mean, when you look at the gameplay, you are moving and shooting like RoboCop, which means stiff and slow gameplay that looks like a light gun game, but that means it feels like RoboCop. People are basically hyped about how this is capturing the feeling of the movies, right? And this is something that kind of people know because it was very well received from its Steam Next Fest demo. Yeah. Kind of crazy, actually. It's got a whole open world where you've got to explore and do detective work in, and of course the deeply satirical tone of the films. So really, this could be a bit of a dark horse AA title to keep an eye on. Then we've got Outer Loop Games coming in with Thirsty Suitors. It's an Annapurna published narrative adventure game about coming home, confronting past loves and lives, and doing all of that while engaging in over-the-top Bollywood-style turn-based combat. And from watching a few Indian movies lately, yeah, hell yeah. Okay, and finally for the second, which is a massive day of games, we have got a Mindbender and Heartbreaker, the Talos Principle 2 from Crow Team. It is, of course, the sequel to the Talos Principle, which was critically acclaimed. The first one basically used puzzles, right, as a means of exploring selfhood and the philosophy of consciousness. So, yeah, expect them to do more big wrinkly brain shit in this one, too. I think a lot of people will love it. Then we've got the racing game developers Codemasters returning to their former dirt track in EA Sports World Rally Championship, which is pretty big because it's them getting that license back for the first time since 2002. Now, that's the team that have been working on the Dirt Rally series, which people absolutely love. they'll obviously have a lot riding on this then as a new sub-series and of course a bit of a return to the official World Rally Championship. I wish him good luck. I've seen some videos of playing those games in full racing sims and yeah, that shit actually looks really fun. Then in the 6th, the Invincible arrives. It's a first-person narrative adventure based on the titular story by Stanislaw Lem. You are playing as a scientist stuck in an alien world trying to find your lost crewmates in an atom punk 50s inspired setting. It's being published by 11-bit studios who honestly publish bangers all the time. As an example, they did Frostpunk. Recently when it came to getting some disc plates, I got the disc plates for the Invincible because their art style is so damn good. 11-bit then have got an eye for personally affecting philosophical stories. We're really a fan of the teams that they work with, the games that they make, so kind of exciting. Next then, a blast from the past with Stronghold Definitive Edition. There really are a lot of Stronghold games, aren't they? Anyway, this is kind of the original Castle Builder series getting a remake, one that they're very keen to say is very authentic, because not only has the art and the voice acting been rebuilt from the original sources, but they've even got the series founders to work on new content, which certainly is interesting. Firefly Studios founders Simon Bradbury and Eric Ouellette have actually designed a 14-mission campaign as well as 10 unique scenarios. So that would mean that even if you are one of the people who spent the last 20 years knowing every single inch of the original, there is actually some new content here from the original creators, which, hey, if you're going to do a remake or a remaster, that's a pretty dope thing to throw in. Okay, the 8th then brings us 2 roguelite shooters with similar vibes. We've got Gunhead from Alien Trap, which is a roguelite FPS that's all about boarding procedurally generated alien spaceships, shooting everything inside, and eventually blowing them up, which sounds fun. But the standout thing here is verticality, right? You've got verticality, you've got a jetpack. You'll be navigating a complex 3D space while also doing the chaotic combat. I mean, yeah, sounds fun, sounds pretty high skill cap. Okay. If you then want one of the OG roguelikes, good news, Risk of Rain Returns is a remake of the original by Hoppo Games, who are the original developers. This one actually means something to me. I was having a particularly bad Christmas. For whatever reason, I just wasn't feeling happy, and I spent a good 25 hours on this game, and between its music, its game design, it's just its presentation, I think that Risk of Rain is an absolutely wonderful game. And with this, everything that you love will be there alongside the addition of more survivors and new kit, and of course polished up for modern consoles and PCs. It really... I mean, look, I already know this game is great. It is a very high recommendation from me. Next then, something equally new but old is Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name. Yeah. This series is crazy. I've seen what's been going on for Infinite Wealth. I need to get stuck in here, but this is both a spin-off and a return to form for the team. This game will be separate from the regular entries, building on the Yokohama setting from Yakuza Like a Dragon, but it will see the return of the original playable character, Kazuma Kiryu. Now, the pitch for this game is that he will be acting in the role of a secret agent for one of the in-universe factions. So basically, they get to play with an entirely new set of conventions and tropes, which is awesome, considering everything they've accomplished with this series. Yes, checking out the 9th feels like a no-brainer. You're almost guaranteed to have seen some selection of hilarious animations and bizarre hijinks from this series. Oh, man, yes, I need the time. Then next, we've got one game scheduled for the 10th. And, you know, we all hope that it doesn't slip under the radar. It is the perpetually delayed and legally embattled survival shooter The Day Before that is supposed to come out on that day. But it can't use that name because of copyright complaints, and we've heard nothing from the developers since August 9th. I have no idea what's going on. A lot of people do not expect this to actually come out on its release date, but I suppose stranger things have happened. Now, 2023 CRPG Sweep is going to be continuing with Broken Roads from Drop Bear Bytes on the 14th. This time we're getting a game that is channeling the classic Fallout from In Exile, right? Like actual back in the day Fallout. It's an isometric RPG set in post-apocalyptic Australia that is very unashamed in its influences. We've got turn-based combat and complex decision-making underpinning what they're basically calling their moral compass, where you are basically making choices that inform your philosophical leanings, and then those influence your in-game stats, which is certainly fun. Then we've got an odd one coming up on the 15th with American Arcadia. It's a single-player game with 2 characters where you are escaping from a self-contained city that also happens to be the world's greatest reality TV show. So basically think The Truman Show in a 2.5D platformer with a retro 70s aesthetic. But the thing is, you'll be escaping with the help of yourself, as you also play first-person puzzle sections that are set outside the city in order to set up the escape. It's a pretty ambitious second title from Out of the Blue Games, so yeah, hopefully they get that balance right. It's certainly hard to do two styles of play, but hey, Truman Show shenanigans, I'm totally down for that. The 15th then gets us the deeply impressive Teardown coming to PlayStation and Xbox. It's the voxel-based demolition game that is all about clever puzzle solving and very precise destruction that, I mean, it just feels like the ultimate toy, right? It's that kind of game. Next, do you remember Dawn of War? Like Dawn of War 1? I certainly do. It's awesome. And do you also remember how it distilled the essence of 40k into a territory control strategy game about massing an army and outmaneuvering your opponent? Everybody loved it. It captured that perfectly. And the good news is, Warhammer Age of Sigmar Realms of Ruin is basically that, but in the fantasy setting. And it's made by Frontier Developments. And it seems they're basically hoping that this will be the entry point for the Age of Sigmar setting that Dawn of War ended up being for many people with the 40k setting. At the very least, I'm interested in, because yeah, Age of Sigmar, I'm still confused, even though it's been years. It's got a full narrative campaign, procedurally generated challenge mode, multiplayer suite, of course, including co-op and even a full map editor and an army painter. Which, yeah, come on, that's just awesome. Of course, we'll have to see if this is actually good, and we'll know on the 17th. Meanwhile then, for so many people, the most important game of the year comes out on that day, and that's because it's Bluey, the video game. Now, if you are perhaps a father, mother, if you've got a small child anywhere in your vicinity, you will know that it's just mandated that everybody watches Bluey, and now there's a video game of that. But also that day, Super Mario RPG is coming to the Switch with a full HD remaster alongside quality of life features and updates to the gameplay. And to give you some perspective, this is something that you could say people have been waiting for what? 17 years, which is quite a lot. Worldless on the 21st from Thunderful Games is starting to be whispered about, right? In the same sort of sentences as Silk Song. And that's very big. It's a 2D Metroidvania with a striking minimalist art style. And the twist here is a turn-based combat system that is designed to be as cinematic as it is sporadic. Inside each turn, you will input actions within a time limit to build up damage. And then, when your turn ends, parries and guards are basically the order of the day. And the coolest part, though, is building up a combo meter that ultimately lets you absorb the opponent and then take some of their skills into yourself. Really unique. This has obviously been a tremendous year for Metroidvanias, and hey, this may be another great one to close the year out. Now, it's also been a really good year for strategy games, and the 28th, Last Train Home from Ashbourne Games, is one that actually might be a bit special. It's a personally relevant story for the developers. You are playing as a force of Czechoslovak soldiers who are trying to make their way home following the war. Unfortunately, you're doing this via Siberia during the Russian Civil War. Fortunately, you have an armored train to ride the whole way, and along this you will have to manage the train itself as well as your forces before engaging in real-time battles that will have significant stakes for your progress home. Actually, it looks really sick. So basically that's your lot. 20 games that are coming out in November that are not Call of Duty. And yeah, of course, I also had to mention Call of Duty because, you know, you do kind of have to, and so many of us just end up, I don't know, out of pure obligation and wanting some degree of bizarre shoot-bang, yeah, we end up giving them some money and playing the campaign, and then you think about Bobby Kotick and it's a whole thing. But if you can pull your money away from Bobby's wallet, there's a lot of really great games. I'm the most excited about Last Train Home. That looks absolutely sick and totally up my alley. Okay, I hope you found today's video interesting. I hope you've learned about perhaps a few games that you otherwise wouldn't have known about, and hopefully we can all have just a little bit more enjoyment in this month that, of course, is following October. That has been another insane month for video games. It obviously was following September. There was also an insane month for really good video games. What the hell is up this year? I mean, I know there have been some big, you know, AAA things that haven't been particularly great, and a few rocky launches lately, but outside of that, when you look like away from that, there are so many amazing games out there. So while of course looking at, you know, the big news stories, it's very easy to see a lot of bad, there is so much good in and around that, and really that's what this series exists to bring you. So let me know what your highlights are for this month, what you've enjoyed in the last month. With that said, I'll see you next time.